Hello and welcome back to Government Unit 1. Today's topic is the Bill of Rights. So like I said in the last video, there was one other controversy that almost stopped the Constitution from being born. Again, the Constitution is the highest law in the land in America. There is no law that supersedes, that is more powerful, that is stronger, or more meaningful than the Constitution. Any law that violates it gets thrown out. We'll talk more about that in another video. But first, how did the Founding Fathers prevent that from being dead in its tracks? So it was over the idea of individual rights. There was a couple different groups, two political parties. Before the word political party was even really used, they used the word factions at the time. Those parties were the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The Federalists wanted a strong federal government because the Articles of Confederation was a failure. We need a stronger federal government that can get taxes together to pay a military and keep everybody organized so that we don't end up being prey to stronger countries. And then the Anti-Federalists were anti the Federalists. They were against that because they felt, no, we can't give too much power to them because they'll just trample all over our individual rights. And that was their biggest worry about tyranny, was individual rights. They wanted to make sure that, just like the idea of natural rights from John Locke, that there were certain things the government just could not step on. And this was hard for the Federalists to swallow because, again, they're too afraid of making the government too weak. And they also really argued that, well, no, the government won't do that. I mean, we all know that rights are important. We don't need to lay it out clearly for the government to know that. We just won't do it, right? Well, the Anti-Federalists were like, heck yeah, you will. Maybe not today, maybe not while we're alive, but what about the people that come after us? This was a huge argument in the signing of the Constitution. At this point, the Constitution had been written. It had been drawn up and finished, with the exception of the Bill of Rights. The Anti-Federalists wanted the Bill of Rights, and the Federalists were afraid of it. But the Federalists knew that without the Anti-Federalist agreement, there would be no Constitution. So something was better than nothing. James Madison, who was a Federalist at that time and an important, respected individual, he went to the Anti-Federalists and said, all right, here's the deal. If you sign the Constitution, that's all we need to make sure we have this new, stronger government that can actually keep us safe and keep us organized. In return for doing that, we will allow you to submit rights. Actually, we'll allow anybody to submit rights to be voted into the Constitution, because the Constitution had a part of it that allowed people to add on to it. It wasn't a final document, so that if any amendments are proposed, they can actually become true amendments, additions to the Constitution, new laws for the whole country to obey if they did two things. First was passing it at the national level, meaning going to Congress and getting 2/3 of all of Congress, both the House and the Senate, to vote, yes, we like this amendment. We want to be a part of the Constitution. That's the first step. If it passes that part, then it goes to the state level. Each state has its own state legislature to pass state laws, laws that only affect people that are in that state. If 3/4 of all of those state legislatures, all of those representatives vote yes, after Congress already did a 2/3 vote yes, then that proposal would become a brand new amendment and a permanent law of the government, that the only way you could take it out is by passing a new amendment saying, just kidding, about the old amendment. Very, very difficult to do, but fair. Anti-Federalists said, okay, we will accept that. We won't force you to add the Bill of Rights, but we'll put it to a vote, because we believe that even with 2/3 vote in Congress and 3/4 vote across the states, we can get the rights that we need protected from the government. And that's exactly what they did. So over the next few years, the amendment process was used to ratify the Bill of Rights, and those are known as the first 10 amendments. And those 10 rights fall into three basic categories. The first being individual freedoms, The second being, what protections do you have against the government if they try to abuse their power against you or over you? And finally, what rights do you have when you're accused of a crime? Even if you really did do it, what rights do you still have no matter what, so that the innocent are protected? The most famous of the 10 Amendments, the one that probably gets used the most, is the First Amendment, because it actually has 5 rights baked into it. Freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, that means to gather in a crowd peacefully. The right to petition, that means you can make claims against the government if you think that they've done something wrong against you. Freedom of religion, we've talked about that in the past, and freedom of press, which we've also talked about in the past. And that's about it. That was how the Constitution was finally signed into law, and we had a brand new government, almost all of which has survived to this very day. These are rights, amendments, and rules that did not go away, ever. At least not yet. If you have any questions, let me know in class, and good luck.